Hello everyone. Let's continue with our discussion on qualitative user research methods. So, now we will look at how we do this analysis. So, we will start with an interview and do an analysis and coding of it. However, the same process is applicable for whatever kind of format that you used, wherever you have text data which you can analyze. So, in this particular lecture, we will learn how to prepare the text data for analysis through transcription, cleaning and documentation of the context clues and non-verbal elements. We will apply inductive and deductive coding approaches to systematically identify themes, patterns and insights from interview transcripts. We will be using coding frameworks and tools. So, we will use open coding, Excel coding, selective coding to structure analysis and build coherent narratives. Then we will validate the findings through member checking, triangulation and synthesis of multiple interview perspectives into actionable design insights. So, let us get started. Now, the interviews, let us say I conducted an interview, I will first prepare the transcription. Now, this transcription has to be verbatim. So, you should not be trying to reduce the information by writing it in your own words. So, transcribe the interviews verbatim. Now, there might be also a possibility that the interview happened in a language which is foreign to you. So, in that context, you might, after the verbatim transcription has been done, you might have to translate that into your language. However, as soon as translation happens, lot of the meaning gets lost also. So, if possible, it is best when the transcribed data is analyzed by a person who understands that particular language. In case it is not feasible, then you will have to go ahead with a translation itself, but you should make a clear note that it was a translation which was analyzed. I might also have to clean the transcript. Why I am cleaning the transcript? Because like I am saying, it is a verbal language. A verbal language is very different from a written language. While I am talking, I might also be thinking. So, I might say like, so these as are there which needs to be cleaned. Also, I might start a sentence. I think that, no, I am sure about it that this happens in this way. So, here in this case, I have to clean up this fact that I think that. So, those are the subjects which depends on what type of transcription has come to you, that cleaning is required. Then you will add context notes. So, who, when did they say this, what was the setting, what was the mood. So, these notes can come from the notes that you had taken while you were conducting the interview, or maybe you had a partner who was taking these notes. So, that forms the preparation stage, and it is one of the most important stage for doing this analysis. Depending on how well your preparation has happened, your analysis will be as good. Now, going to the coding. Here I go and assign labels which I call as codes to meaningful chunks of text. So, if this process needs to be done multiple times. So, in the first pass we do open coding, it identifies themes. Next we do Excel coding, which identifies groups of codes into higher order categories. How to do that we will discuss in the next few slides. After coding is done, then I will be doing synthesis, where I try to do the analysis, where I am building patterns across interviews. I create theme clusters, develop conceptual models, construct narratives. Then I will do a validation. So, whatever my synthesis has happened, I will check with different members. I will show them the findings. It is always good idea that the coding and the synthesis is done by multiple coders in order to avoid single coder bias. So, then I will do a triangulation. So, compare across participants, also across different methods. So, I did interview, I did observation. So, I will be comparing. I will also have to create an audit trail which is about the document which documents all my decisions, how I did all these different steps. Then from there I will be generating certain actionable design implications, like I will be creating my persona, journey maps, opportunity statements and so on. So, let's look at transcription and the preparation process in detail. So, I will transcribe verbatim. I will include all sorts of hesitations, the false starts and emphasize. I will do the audio transcription by using certain tools. Let's say if I use otter.ai, it is approximately 80 to 90% accurate with certain languages, of course, and then I will do a manual review to ensure that everything is correct. I will also include the timestamps for easy references. Then I will go to adding the context notes. So, who said that? So, the participant demography, their role, their expertise. When did they say that? Date, time of the day of the week. All these affect the mood and can help you in further analysis. Where? The setting, the distractions. How? The tone, emotion, body language. If you also had a video of that particular recording. Then I will go to de-identify and anonymize. So, I will replace all names with pseudonyms like P1, P2 or whatever code you want to use. Remove or mask identifying details. So, let's say in the transcription itself the person said that I am CEO of company X. So, you should remove that kind of identifying detail. How can you do that? Just remove the company name. You can still retain the position that I am a CEO. Rather than the company name, you can say CEO of a large tech company or a multinational tech company, something like that, which is a qualifier, and similar qualifier will be used for other companies which have the same qualifier. You can also see that you might need to remove the location if that is something which is going to reveal the person's identity. You can rather replace it by words like metro or a small city. You can also remove sensitive health information and replace them with suitable qualifiers. Then I will do a quality check. So, read the transcript while listening to the audio. Correct transcription errors, flag unclear sections, note pronunciation or dialect for cultural sensitivity. Once my transcription is ready, I will go ahead to the second step, which is the coding. In coding, first I will start with open coding. So, this is the first pass that I am going through the transcript. Identify every meaningful chunk. Ask what is this saying? The result is long list of initial codes. So, let's say for example, I take Shobha's smartwatch observation and interview from the first case study that we looked at for contextual inquiry. So, here I will see that she is saying that my smart alarm is at this particular time and I have this much sleep. So, she checks her sleep score as the first morning ritual. I will read through again, okay, outdoor run mode, 3.5 kilometer, so much heartbeat. So, the GPS tracking, fast, fat burn, zone monitoring and watch disappears during flow. So, when I look at these two statements, what I can clearly see over here is Shobha as a person deeply connects with numbers, and she has a mental image of how to convert these numbers into success criteria. So, that can be one of my open codes, the first source of codes. You can again see this is a recurring pattern. So, in the open coding, when I am going through this first pass through the transcript, I am trying to identify every meaningful chunk. Now, this meaningful chunk might arise from a singular sentence, might arise from a group of sentences, might arise from an entire paragraph. Then after that I go for axial coding. In axial coding, what I do is whatever codes I achieved in the open coding process, I will group these initial codes into higher order categories. So, we will be asking which codes clustered together, and that will result into some coherent theme structure. After that, I can do selective coding. So, here I will integrate the theme clusters into overarching narratives. So, I will ask what's the core story? Result will be of asking this question will be a theory or a persona. Okay, this person is a type of person who loves to deal with numbers and who can interpret numbers into certain abstract concept which is about how my health is performing right now. I can also do deductive coding where, so when I was doing open coding, I did not start with predefined codes in my mind. I said that I will read through and whatever comes there, that is my code. However, I still had overarching research question which was about to understand how the smartwatch integrates into Shobha's daily life. However, in deductive coding, the difference is this: I already have a set of codes that I want to do my study on. So, these codes are pre-specified based on theory or research questions before reading the transcript. So, then I will test whether the data matches with these predicted codes or not. I can also do in vivo codes where use participants' own language as codes. So, this preserves authentic voice and reveals how users conceptualize a certain problem. So, when I am doing this coding process, how I am doing this coding process is I will start with one particular transcript. So, I might have interviewed many people like Shobha. So, I will start with the first person's transcript and then I will not start coding immediately. First, I will get a sense of the entire data set. Then I will identify some initial patterns, some surprises, some outliers. This might take about 2 to 3 hours when I read through Shobha's interviews and 9 other such interviews to get myself more familiar with the kind of information which is coming up. Once I have gotten an initial mental idea of what kind of data is coming through, I will go to the open coding, the first pass. So, I will select one transcript to begin with. I will read carefully, mark the meaningful chunks with codes, write code definitions in a code book. So, what a code definition means, let's say I use a particular code which says trust verification. So, I use this particular code whenever I see that there is an action to confirm data accuracy. So, in my code definition is not the same as someone else's code definition. I might also not remember how I did this code definition later on. I might, while reading through so many transcripts, myself tend to change the definition of the code. Hence, it is very important that whenever you are doing this open coding process, even in deductive coding, whatever codes you want to use, there has to be a code book which defines what exactly falls within the purview of this particular code. So, I will again also, now the code book is not something which is like once done it cannot be changed. You can also refine the code book after 3 to 4 transcripts. Actually, all the code book definitions actually become solidified. So, it helps you in consolidating similar codes. You can remove the duplicates, you can organize them into families and document the definition clearly for consistency. And each time you change the definition or improvise onto it, you should go back again to your first few transcripts which have already been done and see whether it still works or not. Code all transcripts. Apply refined codebook systematically, code every relevant chunk, document decisions in memos for how you applied the codes. Then the next step is identify the pattern. So, you can do frequency analysis. So, which codes appear most often. You can also do co-occurrence analysis, which codes appear together. You can also do a variance analysis. How does code meaning vary across participants? You can then build themes. Group the codes into higher order themes. Example codes like trust verification, habit check, social anxiety, they can be clustered together into context dependent interaction patterns. So, now we will look at this, we will perform this activity by going through the interview analysis of Shobha's smartwatch experience. So, we will be applying coding, theming and pattern analysis to the contextual interview, inquiry interview that we have already done. So, you might already remember we had done this Shobha's day in the life where she started at 7 a.m. with waking up and went to bed at 10:30 p.m. and we noted down all the activities that she did, how she woke up with the smartwatch, how she used it during her outdoor run at 8 a.m. and how the watch helped her to remind that you are sitting for a long time, so you need to move right now. And how she went into this night mode, how the watch went into the night mode and how she did breathing exercises if the watch told that her heart rate was quite high as compared to what she wanted it to be before going to bed. So, the research question over here was, how does a smartwatch integrate into the daily wellness routine of a young urban professional? Now I will go ahead with the coding process. So I prepared this transcript for you from my contextual inquiry. Now I will try to see how they translate into codes. So I see that she uses phrase vibrates gently. So this is my first pass. So I say that gentle wake up, because my question was about how it integrates into the smartwatch, integrates into the wellness of the young professional. So okay, gentle waking up is a factor of well-being. She mentioned tracks my sleep analytics. So, and that's how it wakes up. So I put it as a code adaptive alarm. Then she said I started noticing certain patterns in my sleep. So that is about pattern recognition, like weather before planning my day. So data is used to plan her routine. So data as a routine. The watch disappears. Technology invisibility. Buzz on the wrist and jarring. So that is unwanted interruption during her office work hours. Dismiss it 70% of the time. So alert resistance. Permission to take a break. Alert as permission. Body's external dashboard. Quantified self. Data empowers also judges. Empowerment, anxiety, tension. So identified these first set of codes from the first pass. Now I will try to group these codes into categories. So the first category is adaptive interface behavior. So what codes did I put over here? The gentle wake up, adaptive alarm and auto night mode. So I categorize them into adaptive interface behavior. Why did I do so? Because the theme over here is the device adapts to user's biological state. So that is the theme that I am deriving out of it. My second category, the theme over here is users develop data interpretation skills over time. 3-week learning curve. How did I understand this? From my codes of data recognition, data as routine and correlation learning. So data literacy development is my second category. My next theme that I identified is some notification experience differently based on cognitive state. So I saw that alert resistance, alert as permission, unwanted interruption and flow disruptions were some of the codes which I grouped them together to identify this theme. So the category over here is context dependent interruption tolerance. Category 4, technology embodiment spectrum. So the codes over here are technology invisibility, quantified self, empowerment, anxiety, tension. So the theme over here that is coming up is relationship with device oscillates between invisible tool and judgmental mirror. Now my step 3, which is about selective coding. What is the core category? So I want to identify the core category that connects all the Excel codes that I did in the previous thing. So the core category over here is it's a negotiated wellness partnership. Why I derived this particular thing? Because the smartwatch is not merely a tool, it is a partner whose authority the user continuously negotiates with. So when the alarm is sometimes the alarm is irritating, sometimes the alarm is a reason why she acts onto it. It's a permission that okay, I can go and take a break. Sometimes it is intrusive. So Shobha accepts the sleep data, which I saw that it is an empowering data. So what happens in this selective coding? As I told you, I am trying to build a relationship between all the Excel codes. So I can see that Shobha accepts the sleep data, which is empowering for her. But she resists the sedentary alert because it is intrusive when she is in flow, but she also welcomes it when she is stuck and she thinks that now this is a permission for me to go for a break. And it depends also on the heart rate data. So external validation of the internal state. So that's why by looking at this pattern which is being formed, I created this core code, which is core category, which is negotiated wellness partnership, because she is continuously negotiating with it whose authority the user, the tool or the partner whose authority is going to be more important. So the relationship is very dynamic and not fixed. It shifts across contexts. So morning it is a trusting partner, afternoon it is an annoying interruption, and evening it is a reassuring monitor. Now I will do the thematic analysis. So, the final themes derived from the coding process are here. There is this 3-week threshold for people to attain the data literacy, where data starts making meaning to them, where they are able to meaningfully engage with data and recognize pattern. Flow versus fiction is the next theme. So, interruption design must account for cognitive state. The same nudge is hostile in flow and liberating in frustration. The quantified self paradox. The health data simultaneously empowers, it gives you self awareness and oppresses performance anxiety also. Users need agency over when data is surfaced. Then invisible when working, visible when needed. So, the ideal wearable disappears during activity and reappears only at decision points. So, these are the themes that I derived from this particular interview. When you are making this particular analysis, it is always a good idea that you create a visual summary table out of it. So, you can see that I have my transcript excerpts, then I have my open codes. Now, each of these open code belongs to certain Excel categories, then they are going into certain themes. When you do in this particular fashion, you can see how many times flow versus friction is appearing, how many times invisible when working is offering. And you can also perform this affinity diagram and visual clustering. So, I showed you this whole process, like it moves on from this sequence to this sequence, but this is like how you perform the sequencing is after your open coding is done. So, these are all my open codings. You can put them individually on sticky notes. Then you or your team can gather together and you can start this entire coding process. So, here you can see I put it into this adaptive interface behavior as a category by group discussion or by individual brainstorming, by putting it down in certain clusters. This is yet another cluster where I saw technology invisibility, quantified self empowerment, anxiety, and I decided that okay, they go together. Sometimes you might also see that one particular open code might fit into 2 or more themes. It is possible to do that also. So, there is no problem if one code fits into 2 or more themes. Now, from codes to the design implications. So, how each of these themes can be translated it into UX design recommendations. So, let us say my first theme that I saw was a 3-week threshold. So, you can create an onboarding screen which helps them in setting the expectations of a new user. So, you can say that your data becomes meaningful after 3 weeks, and so the user knows now that okay, I have to consistently keep inputting data for next 3 weeks, and only after 3 weeks I will understand that okay, how this data makes full sense to the machine as well as to the user. The progressive disclosure of insights should also be built in. So, let us say it is already 5 days and maybe people's interest in logging data is going down, then you can provide insight that in the last 5 days we have been able to build 20% of your profile. So, which gives this sense of progressiveness. Some insights can already be presented to them that with this 20% we know this about you. So, and this has been derived through this processes. So, slowly the person also starts learning how to interpret the data and gets more engaged with your product. Flow versus friction. So, context aware interruptions need to be designed. So, I can detect the focus state before sending a nudge. How can I detect it? So, you have to check how, because your watch is constantly monitoring your heart rate. Can this heart rate be converted into certain data which tells how much is the person focused at this point? Is it the good time to send a nudge? How much should be the intensity of the nudge? So, offer deep work modes also, that is a possibility. So, if I have said that in this particular hour or in this particular location, or when I am working with this particular software, if deep work mode gets automatically activated, or let us say I can activate deep mode myself manually for an hour or so, then in that particular state no nudges are provided. So, design so that this particular user interface is available to your user. Now quantified self paradox. So data diet mode. Option to hide metrics when user feels overwhelmed. Reframe data as guidance and not judgment. Invisible when working. So minimize Chrome during activities, maximize information at transition points between activities. You can also do certain kind of methodological reflection. So let's say here I presented to you a single case analysis. So there I was able to give you a lot of depth, but I was not able to give you breadth. So Shobha's interview yielded 47 meaning units, 10 plus open codes, 4 Excel categories, 4 themes and 1 category. Never do this with only a single participant because it is highly limited, because it is so personal about that person only. So findings are not generalizable but offer analytical depth for sure. Self-reported data is subject to social desirability bias also. Recall bias is inherent in retrospective accounts. Researchers' own smartwatch use may influence interpretation, which is the reflexivity concern. So always try to have multiple users. Also the coding process should be done by more than one researcher to ensure that researchers' own self experience is not influencing the data analysis. So the tools and best practices: use manual coding, print transcripts, highlight with markers, write codes in margins. You can do deep engagement with text. It is hard to organize and analyze pattern when you are doing it. You can also use spreadsheet codes. There are also paid softwares like Atlas TI where you can paste the codes in spreadsheet columns, and you can make columns like participant, code, theme. It is easy to organize, filter and sort. However, there is a limitedness of the scale, how much you can do. The softwares like Atlas TI can help you in further expanding the scale. The NBO, Max, QDA are other dedicated qualitative analysis softwares. However, they are paid. They feature automated coding also, theme analysis, visualization. They can handle large data sets. So whenever you are having large data sets, try to go for these kind of softwares. They also have a steep learning curve. However, lots of tutorials are also available for them. Simple spreadsheets often are sufficient for 10 to 20 interviews only. Invest in these kind of softwares when you have to do analysis of, let's say, more than 50 interviews. Even for 20 plus interviews, it's a good idea if you have these softwares, because they are way much more user friendly as compared to using print transcripts or spreadsheet based coding. Now, when you are translating these codes to design insights, we create personas. So let's say I will create a persona right now with all the analysis that I did. So I am making this fitness tracker. I give her a name, Sarah. It should not be the same name as the actual user. Demographics: her age is 35, she is an office worker and has moderate fitness levels and is a fitness enthusiast to a moderate level. Her goals is to track activity without obsessing, stay accountable to gym group. The pain points are distrust after sedentary period, social anxiety about sharing. Her behavior: glance verify cycle, avoids notifications during meetings. The design implications are ambient confidence indicators visible without tap. I can also create journey maps and opportunity maps. So map user workflow with emotional highs and lows. So let the stages over here are: before, it is motivation, and then she gets anxious when she looks at the data. During, checking, then trusting, and then again some doubt starts coming up because of certain reasons. Then after, achievement, then she has some skepticism also. So I can map out this whole work journey maps using this emotional highs and lows. We will discuss about in detail creating personas and journey maps in our later weeks. Right now, just giving you an overview of how it is done, from the codes to the design implications to the personas, journey maps and opportunity maps. So coding is not about categorization but about meaning making. Each code is a hypothesis. This text exemplifies this concept. Here's why. That's what the aim of this whole coding analysis process is about. So the key takeaways of this lecture are: do a systematic coding. Move from open to Excel to selective coding to transform raw transcripts into structured, meaningful themes. The context is very important. User meaning shifts with context. The same feature can be trusted in the morning and resented in the afternoon. Validate rigorously. Use member checking, triangulation and peer debriefing to ensure findings reflect real user experiences and are not researcher bias. Design ready insights. Translate all these coded themes into actionable design recommendations. Every insight should point to a clear UX improvement. So that brings us to the end of this particular lecture. Here are some of your references, and thank you so much.